Are you going to get the fight with Anderson Silva? If you do, you'll have a full training camp. He's the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Do you really think you can take him?
I like you, man. You're hysterical. That was great. Hey, man, Anderson Silva, I agree with you. He's definitely pound-for-pound best fighter of all time. I really believe that, and I'm a big fan of his, just like you guys are. But when I got into this sport 3 years ago, you know, I told people I'm going to start doing MMA, and one of the first questions they'd ask me is, you know, what weight class are you going to be in? And I would say 185. And right away, you just be like, isn't that Anderson Silva's weight class? Like, you better change weight classes, buddy. You know, and just like that, you know, and he deserves that type of respect from everybody because he's earned that, you know. And but that motivated me, you know, all throughout these 3 years of competing in mixed martial arts. It's motivated me, and I finally got to the point where I feel like I deserve the shot with him, and I really don't want to lose that opportunity, you know, because I think I can make the best of it.
Can you take him?
Oh, yeah, no, I truly believe, man. I'm not blowing smoke up anybody's, you know, whatever. And, yeah, no, I truly believe I could beat him. I wouldn't be asking for this fight, you know, if I didn't believe it, you know. So I also, you know, I don't only just believe I could beat him, I really believe I could go out there and finish him, you know. And that's the mentality I'm going to have going into that fight. It's not going to be just to share the octagon with Anderson Silva, which I think a lot of other guys who he's fought kind of had that mentality going in. I'm going in there to do what I've been focusing on doing for 3 years, and that's getting that championship, you know, and it's going to be awesome to beat Anderson Silva. On paper, Anderson Silva is not the toughest fight for me. On paper. Yeah. On paper, if you're like a gambling man. But obviously, he's the freaking man. It's not going to be, I'm not saying it's an easy fight, but, you know, it's going to be me walking forward. I don't think he's ever faced a guy with my reach before, my height before, and a guy who could, you know, like when he fought Chael Sonnen, he has to explode in. And just like Mark Munoz, he has to explode in to get to me because we have longer reaches. Right. And Anderson Silva did an awesome job his whole career just exploiting guys, you know, with that. And I'm going to be able to stay in his face without him hitting me and be able to, you know, look for punches, kicks, and also, you know, obviously look for the takedown at the same time. And I think that's going to be tough. Right now, my mindset is 100% on Anderson Silva because no one told me for it not to be. You know, UFC is pretty much telling me, like, that's the fight I think that a good chance of happening. There's so many different variables going on with that. It's weird. It's so different from what I'm used to. But right now, it looks like I have a shot at getting, you know, Anderson Silva, and that's really what I'm focusing on. I mean, that's the gold, that's the championship, that's Anderson Silva, and that's what I want, you know. So if UFC was to come to me tomorrow or today and say, listen, we're not going to give you the Anderson Silva fight, I'd say, okay, and then I'd start thinking about different guys. But right now, it's Anderson Silva all the way. Yeah, you know, I think, you know, the job for the champion is to fight, you know, the top contender. But I don't know. I haven't heard Anderson Silva speak. You know, I haven't heard him actually turn me down. I'm hoping that Anderson Silva is the guy who I think he is, and that he wants the biggest challenge and to face that challenge and defeat it. And I think I'm the biggest challenge right now. I know his managers on paper. I'm a bad matchup for him. You know, and obviously I don't have the biggest name, so his managers have come out kind of downplaying me, which is frustrating because I feel like I deserve to be where I'm at, and I got this opportunity to finally fight Anderson Silva, and I don't want, you know, politics to get involved. So we'll see what happens, you know. I don't like it, to tell you the truth, because I just don't understand why these guys who are 35 years old, their testosterone is low. Okay, that's a natural thing that happens. Okay, if your testosterone is low and you feel like you can't train, you can't fight, I mean, that's kind of your body telling you you're kind of ready to retire. But that's a hard thing to tell a guy who's making the most money of his life and trying to support his family. So I don't like it because it's like giving them an unfair advantage. Experience is so important in this sport. So to give a 35-year-old guy the same testosterone as a 20-year-old kid is kind of not fair, I think. But it's legal, and guys are doing it, and I don't know. I'm not going to be changing the law anytime soon, but you know, it is what it is.
So like if a fighter signed to fight you and he was a fighter that was approved for TRT, would you have any problem accepting the fighter, or does that have any outcome on the effect if you were going to accept the fight or not?
No, I'll accept the fight regardless. But to be honest with you, I've had like all my blood work done, and I've seen my testosterone score. I'm 28 years old, never done any type of steroid in my life, and I'm nowhere close to what these guys are allowed to be taking. So it's like crazy to me. Like, you know, I'm 28, never taken anything, and you guys are allowed to get up to there. And I don't want to be that guy who goes on TRT, and my whole life now I have to be on testosterone replacement therapy, and like, you know, that's like I don't know, you have to take that forever. I mean, I don't want to be that guy. So it's like, I don't know. I just don't know. I'm just not a big fan of it, you know?
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Whatever happens, happens. I want to fight Anderson Silva.
Let me say this. As a hardcore fan, I know who you are. But as a lot of people that are on the sort of periphery of UFC, and especially MMA, I don't think that perhaps a lot of people out there see you. I mean, you have to imagine the major Twitter following that went along with Chael Sonnen to get him that rematch with Anderson. I mean, do you feel like people are pushing that hard for you right now?
I think people are pushing hard for me, but if the UFC decides to make the fight, I have full confidence in the UFC being able to promote this fight the way they promote fights. You know, I have no doubt. Listen, I was in my parents' basement a year ago. I think it's going to be different. It's not going to be like Chael Sonnen. I'm not going to be talking smack. It's going to be, I think, I would hope it'd be more of like an inspirational thing. I was living in my parents' basement a year ago with my family. Now I'm out. Three years of doing mixed martial arts total, and I'm fighting the best fighter of all time. Imagine I go out there and beat him. Another thing is, Anderson Silva, you know, he fought one time before he went for the title against Chris Weidman. Who knew him at that point? Was he a huge star? You got to take a chance, you know? And I hope UFC takes a chance with me.
How do you feel about Anderson ducking you?
I don't want to be that guy who's saying he's ducking me, man. I know his manager, it seems like he is, but I don't want to be that guy to say it. I have no problem with you guys saying it.
He's calling out GSP, you know? A guy half his size. He doesn't want to fight you.
Oh, man. I don't know.
He's ducking you.
I can't say it. I can't do it. Can't do it. But I'll tell you this. I really believe I am his biggest threat. And I think he knows that. But one part of me would think that he would want to take that challenge and see how he would do with it. Because if he was able to beat me on paper, I think I'm his toughest matchup. And I think that would be huge for his career. I mean, his legacy.